afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our pre-match press conference to preview our game against Liverpool, and we'll start off with Vinny from Sky, please.
Frank, obviously a big game when it's two local rivals going head-to-head, so how do you feel about facing your first experience in a Merseyside derby?
Good. It's a huge fixture, and I'm very proud to be managing this football club and going up in a game of this size. You know, I've watched it from afar many a time, marvelled at the atmosphere and the history of the game, so I'm very happy to be involved.
What have you been told this week about this game as well?
Well, not so much, because I've been at the training ground and I've been in my flat, so it's like not so much. I'm on my own. You know, we're consumed by the job. We had a game midweek, so it's kind of broken the week slightly. But I've got a full understanding of it. I know what this club means to the fans, and the same for obviously Liverpool fans in the city with two huge football clubs like this. So I don't need to be told much. I've got an understanding of what will be coming on Sunday.
Obviously, Everton went there last season and won there for the first time since 1999. We know what their home form has been like, particularly this season, unbeaten, and we know what Everton's away form has been. So how do you create a mindset that shows belief that the players can go there and get something at Anfield that could be so vital to staying in the Premier League?
Well, we do that every time, and you can't always control the result. It is the unfortunate part of management, but this game's, let's call it a one-off, but it brings different energy to it. So whether we can tap into that. The reality is we're going up against one of, if not the best team in the world on current form. We have two of them in the Premier League, them and Manchester City. So it's a tough match on whatever way you look at it, but we'll prepare as we always do with an idea of how we want to play. And the things I expect from the players, whether at home or away, is passion and fight and a desire, because there's not a game plan in world football that will work without that as a base, and particularly in a game of this size and type.
It's 4 points from your last two games. Obviously, it wasn't the win on Wednesday night, but the players did show that ability to dig something out of the situation that they were in. If we'd have seen that more often this season, then you'd be in a much stronger position than you are now. So what do you take then from Wednesday night going into this game?
Well, there's a lot of reasons for that over the season. I wouldn't just say it's that passion that you saw the other night, because games are different in their form. But what you can take from the other night is the confidence of the fact that we weren't probably at our best, but we probably deserved to win the game on chances. Not gameplay, as I say, we weren't at our best, but that should show that if we have that spirit and togetherness, then there's a lot we can do.
Just onto Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I mean, is it bad luck? I mean, I take it he's still unavailable this weekend, but is it bad luck that he's broken down again the way he has, or is there an underlying problem that potentially needs sorting out with him?
I think every player has a potential underlying problem. Nobody's a machine. This is a tough industry, and a lot of demands on the players. So there's obviously an element of bad luck where it happens to players. They have a run of bad luck in terms of one injury leads to another, but nobody is infallible in those terms. So in those terms, I think Dominic's like every other player, and he's had a bad run.
Is he likely to be available after this weekend?
We'll see, don't know.
And what did Rondon show when he came on Wednesday in terms of maybe being the focal point of the attack now?
Yeah, showed that. He showed ability to hold the ball up, to bring people into play, to be involved in the goal, and I knew he had that. And you know, when you have some options, the front end of the pitch, when everyone's fit, has been the busiest part of the team for me to make selection from. But I know, and he's trained well throughout, and I know what he can bring us, and he brought it the other night, and that's great for us.
There seemed to be an understanding there, in particular with Richarlison.
Yeah, he's a smart player. Salomon, he's an experienced player, a good player. Great work ethic, and very good to have in the squad.
Obviously, Burnley winning last night, it's easy for us to say, puts pressure on Everton even more so. What can you do to ensure that there's that feeling really doesn't grip the players, and that doesn't become inhibiting?
We can't gauge our mindset or our attitude or our feeling on other results. It'd be the worst thing you can do in this situation. They will happen. You have to expect other teams will win games. It's just everyone's fighting, so it's just a case of focusing on ourselves.
In terms of that battle, though, do you see it as just a straight fight with Burnley, or others above you still involved? Leeds, notably.
Sure, it's clear, isn't it? Until you're mathematically out of it at this stage of the season, I think you are in the battle.
Any other problems from Wednesday night?
No, we've got a couple of small injuries. Donny van der Beek won't be fit. He's got a small injury in his groin area, pelvic area, and Andre Gomez the same, another small one that keeps him out of the weekend.
Thanks, Frank. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks. We'll go to Richard at Premier League Productions, please.
Frank, we've spoken at length over the last few weeks about the importance of taking chances and being clinical at the top end of the pitch. With that in mind, then I imagine there's a lot of frustration on your part. Unbelievable bad luck for Dominic.
Yeah, it's obviously, you know, you want your bigger players. You know, when I say big players, he's got history here of the performing and scoring, and goals at this time of the season are crucial. We know that. So when you miss them, and we've missed big players at the back defensively as well, and we've seen that that's been something we've had to work against. So being clinical is important, particularly if you're talking about a game against Liverpool, because no team really goes there and creates a lot of chances. Maybe Manchester City go toe to toe. So if we get opportunities, we'll have to be clinical, and not just Liverpool. The games coming up, we, as I said, we'll reflect back on Wednesday night. The biggest disappointment of it is that we didn't take those sort of gilt-edged chances that we had.
Does it help to some degree that outside of this club, there doesn't appear to be a great deal of expectation on Everton going into this game?
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure what it helps for us, but in terms of the points that are on offer in this game are what they are. We're playing the strongest team in form terms in the league. There's no doubt about that. So does that give you an idea that, okay, not much is expected, so if you get something, yeah, maybe. But you have to use that in a positive and not use it in a way where if the game turns difficult, if things happen in game, that you then let that affect your mindset. We have to fight to the last minute, no matter what happens in this game. And there's no problem being an underdog. We are the underdogs. It's clear because of where Liverpool are in their process and where we are. But we have to fight no matter what.
How much, Philip, then is it in terms of self-belief that, like you say, you dug out that result with the late goal on Wednesday night?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a different game. It's another game, and a tough game. And we just have to, as I say, work as hard as we possibly can. Have an idea about what we want to do in the game. To do well defensively against Liverpool is always a first, because you're never safe against Liverpool. No matter how the game is running, they're always a team that can give you problems, whether they're forcing constant pressure or moments of counter-attack and transition. So we have to deal with that first and foremost, and then see what we can do in terms of an idea to, when we have the ball, that we can give them problems.
And just finally from me, this morning Jurgen said he welcomes the physicality and aggression within the confines of the rules of the game. How do you set your team up, and how do you respond to that?
Well, that's how we all set up, I think, isn't it? I think in the modern day we expect players to be physical, but the right side of the law. And I'd expect the same Liverpool. I hope the referee kind of sees that. I mean, in terms of going to Anfield for us, making sure that I think the referee understands, because at Goodison we've had yellow cards become red cards, and maybe Anfield doesn't always work that way. We saw one in the last game, red card situation become a yellow card. So we'll try and stay the right side of the law, as we always do.
Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. We'll go to Mike Hughes at Radio Merseyside, please.
Hi there, Frank. In terms of the ferocity of this fixture and the indications, if you look at it, I think it's the fixture with the most red and yellow cards. How can you get the message across to the players that you want them to stay the right side of the law when it's a desperate situation? It's a really important match for lots of different reasons, but you can't afford any more suspensions. No, we can't, and it's a desperate match for both, or an important match for both, for different reasons, as you say. And just that clear message that you said, I think we expect the players to be mature, we expect them to be committed, but you expect them to also understand that you have to stay this side of the line for the benefit of the team. The benefit of the team to go to Anfield and try and get a result for us is difficult enough. To go and have an idea that you might have 10 men or so, it's nigh on impossible. So we have to get that right. Footballing bravery shows up in many different ways, and I think a lot of the time we equate it with sliding in and winning possession out on the touchline, or the way a tackle can change a game. But it's also players being brave in possession and being prepared to take chances, not chances that would sort of put you in a bad light potentially. But I mean, it is difficult for players to show that bravery in any fixture, but given the bad luck recently and the way things have gone, so you need the players to stand up and want the ball and to get that movement. Putting that message across, has that been easy? Well, that's work, and that takes time sometimes, because you want to play, you want to move the ball well, but sometimes if there is a lack of confidence, that can be tested for the players. I understand that. And what we're going into on Sunday is an atmosphere against one of the highest counter-pressing teams in the league and in the world. So there won't be time on the ball, and you have to be brave and accept it and play, because that's what we want to do. We want to be able to move the ball
and have some possession of the ball. We can't keep giving it back to Liverpool. So that's a constant message. That's a message since day one, and the players have to be prepared to receive the ball in tight areas and find passes.
You've touched on it briefly, but Salomon Rondon came on and was a focal point, and part of the reason in the change of the game against Leicester is another benefit for his possible inclusion between now and the end of the season, that maybe moving Richarlison out to wider areas brings the best out of him, because playing with his back to goal is not his greatest strength.
Yeah, I think, well, yeah, in terms of Salomon, yeah, it's a great option for us. But I think with Richie, it's if you look at the modern day number 9, it's different to what the number 9 that we maybe would have associated with years ago. Dominic maybe is more that type, and with Richarlison, I think he can play the 9, because you look at most of the top teams in the Premier League, they don't play with an out-and-out number 9, Liverpool included. So I think Richarlison can do that role for us. But he also can work off the left. We've seen that. I think he's very comfortable to play as like an inside left, kind of as much as an out-and-out wide man. I think it's a good, and it's a real benefit and a beauty to be able to have players across the front line that can be versatile and pop up in different areas and change in game or going into game. So I have to sort of consider everything about us in terms of how we want to attack, but also how we want to defend, with Richie either on the left side or centrally, because that can have an effect on that too.
Finally, from me, he has a tendency to get frustrated at times. We know all about his ability, and he can't let that sort of weigh on his shoulders going into this game and for the rest of the season, that he missed a few chances. He got the equaliser, but he does. You can see in his body language he does get frustrated.
Yeah, but I get that. We're all different in terms of how we show frustration, and one thing I know from working with Richie is that his frustration is well meant. It's a good reason. He wants to be successful for this football club, and he's a passionate lad who wants to score the goals to help the team and assist and do everything and fight and run. And I think that's why he's one of the fans' favourites for us, because people relate to that. So it's no problem. I can't teach him how to have different body language off the back of a chance. It's just trying to keep working, keep giving him confidence and understanding that striker must be in and around it to be getting those chances, and then the goals will come. More goals will come for him because of the amount of time he can create or be in the right area. So that's just work. Keep working in the right way in the training ground, and keep being positive with him.
Thanks. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Mike.
you.
We'll go to Alistair McGowan at BBC.
Hi, Frank.
Hi.
The other night was your first draw as Everton manager, remarkably. Would you take a draw this weekend?
What do you think? What do you think? Of course. I mean, it's a tough game we're going into. We'll make no bones about that. It's a team that have just put 4 past Manchester United. I watched the game against Manchester City. You know, you have to respect them as a team. It's a team of incredible players throughout, and a squad of incredible squad and options, and an incredible manager. You know, let's just be straight about that and understand it'll be a tough match for us. So, you know the answer to the question.
You mentioned there, obviously, you're going to be sort of, in your own half and defending probably quite a lot against one of the best teams in the world. How important is it to have Yerry Mina back in the side? And is he, I think you mentioned about managing his games, has he got enough in him to play this weekend as well?
That's a decision I'll have to make closer to the game because of the tight turnaround. He's an important player for us, and we have to understand we've got 6 more games after this. So that'll be one where I have a good communication with Yerry to make sure that's the right decision for us. In terms of defending their own half, yeah, if you watch Liverpool week in, week out, and as I say, you'll see a lot of teams have to accept possession is always going to be favoured to Liverpool because of their style and the comfort and the way they play. And in that form, we have to get the mindset around that. It's a different challenge from one you might get every week when you're defending in your own half. The focus and concentration has to be exceptional against a team of this level. That's the challenge that's ahead of us.
Will you draw on the game against Man City going into this one in terms of the status of opposition and how you performed in that game as well?
Sure, yeah, because it's a similar level of team, a different style. We'll give you different tests, maybe more speed and aggression and pace in their game at different times. Manchester City feel more positional and test you in different ways, but it's the same basics in terms of the focus and concentration, and the players can feel and know that they did it against Manchester City and we compete and deserve something from the game. But it will be a different game as well of sorts, so there's a lot on this game in terms of we're travelling away, albeit very close to us, but the extra tension around this game will bring other tests that maybe Manchester City didn't.
And last time, I think when you were manager at Chelsea, when you played at Anfield, talking earlier about staying on the right side of the line, maybe the emotions got the better of you a little bit. I just wondered if you were wary of that, or you sort of, looking forward to going to Anfield with a crowd there as well.
So nothing can be heard. on the videos afterwards. Maybe. I mean, listen, I think most of us in this job, you know, I can't preach staying on the right side of the line and then sort of say it was fine for me to maybe get it a bit wrong, which I did, but all of us do. I think at time, I think if you're human and you're in this job and what it means to yourself, what it means to your squad and the club and the fans, I think what I know was it was well-meaning at the time, probably just badly, a bit misguided from my point of view, but I've seen lots of managers do that, and when you actually speak with the manager behind, I've seen Jurgen since then when I was managing Chelsea, and everything's fine. We understand the passionate nature of the game, and that's what I like, when you can maybe get things a little bit wrong, but we all move on because we understand what this game does to you sometimes.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks, Alistair. Go to Carl Markham from the Press Association, please.
Hi Frank. Just considering Liverpool's form, particularly at home, I'm just wondering what the overriding feeling for you is as an individual going to Anfield as a manager.
In what sense?
Just in terms of how you view the game itself from, you know, is it daunting, is it a challenge? You know, what's the feeling you get going there?
Well, I'm a realist. You understand that the position we're in the league, you know, the table is a reflection of where you're at, and so those parts of it are clear. I've played Liverpool. I've managed against Liverpool a good few times now, and it's always, say, daunting in terms of you respect the level of player and manager that they have. Played them in a Super Cup, I played them in the FA Cup, played them in the league. So it's always a test no matter what. So I'm well versed in that. It's just a slightly different type of test, which is, as much as people might say, you know, daunting, I don't want to use that word because it's like the challenge, and why we're in this game is to not, you know, always have it your own way, always feel like you're flying and this will happen, this will be good. You get tested in this game, and it's a game and I and we as a squad will get tested.
Thanks, Carl. Just checking if there's any questions on Zoom before we move on to the embargoed section for the newspapers. No? Okay. We'll